my name is Laura and welcome to my channel, Boundless Books. So today I thought I would do something a little different and compare books to their corresponding movie adaptations. So using a very complex and completely subjective algorithm, I'm going to determine which one was better, the book or the movie. So let's get started. And I apologize in advance if I sniffle profusely throughout the course of this video. I am recovering from a cold and it is still quite bad. Our first contender is Fault in Our Stars by John Green versus the 2014 movie adaptation of this book. For those of you who have somehow managed to avoid both the book and the movie, this book is about a young woman named Hazel who is terminally ill with cancer, and she's kind of preparing to die and end her life, until she meets a young man named Augustus Waters, and this basically changes her whole outlook on her cancer and the end of her life. So in this one, I'm definitely gonna have to go with the book. I'm not really one who can handle really sad movies or books very well, but I think that sad subject matters are a little easier to handle in a book versus in a movie. When you add lots of really melodramatic music, it starts to become a little harder to handle and somehow less sincere in my mind. But I would like to give a shout out to both of the actors in the movie because I do think they portrayed the main characters really well. So for this one, definitely the book is the winner in my mind. So the next contender on the list is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Versus the 2010 movie adaptation. So to quickly summarize what this book is about, it follows a group of students who grow up in a mysterious and secluded boarding school in the English countryside called Halsham. And it's narrated by one student whose name is Kathy, and she's an adult looking back at her time at Halsham. And as she starts to detail her childhood, you as the reader realize that she wasn't quite such a normal child, and all the children growing up in Halsham were definitely not normal children. So I won't ruin the mystery for you because that's really the joy of this story. But if you're gonna decide whether to read the book or watch the movie to figure out what's going on, definitely read the book in this case. This was the clear winner for me. The movie should have been really enjoyable. It has a great cast in it. It has Carey Mulligan, Keira Knightley, and Andrew Garfield as the leads of the story. And I really love Carey Mulligan. I think she's an excellent actress. However, this is one case where the writing style of the book really doesn't lend itself super well for a movie adaptation. Ishiguro is kind of a master of the unreliable narrator. He does a really good job of only revealing what he wants to reveal when he's ready. Unfortunately, when you're trying to adapt something like that into a film, you can't really conceal quite as much from the viewer because there are things that they're just gonna see and start to extrapolate from what's around them that are much easier to hide when you have a narrator describing a story to you. So in this case, the book is definitely the clear winner for me. Ishiguro is a really talented writer. He has beautiful lyrical prose, in addition to the fact that this is actually a sci-fi sort of mystery novel. So it's just like a really wonderful combination between those two genres. Next up is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen versus the 1999, I cannot say 1999, I'm so snotty, sorry, film adaptation of this movie. So a brief synopsis of this book, because this is definitely one of Jane Austen's lesser known stories. This book follows a young woman named Fanny Price, and she is taken from her family and sent to live with her wealthy relatives in this lovely manor called Mansfield Park. However, Fanny is not treated like one of the family. She is constantly reminded of her humble origins and the fact that she is the impoverished relative and basically treated like a servant. So I might be saying something slightly blasphemous here. And even though I love Jane Austen and I love all of her novels, in this case I'm gonna have to say that I like the movie better. Now hear me out, okay? I have good reasoning. The book is a little hard to handle, not because it's not well written, but because Fanny Price is a little hard to take for a modern reader reading the book. She is an extremely passive character. She basically is molded by all the other people around her, and specifically her very religious cousin. Now, as a modern woman reading that book, I have a little trouble handling such a weak-minded character. The movie, on the other hand, does something completely different with the story, and it actually bases the character of Fanny Price off of Jane Austen and turns her into this very fiery woman who likes to write and basically pushes against the social constructs of the time. Also, the movie adaptation has Johnny Lee Miller in it, and he's adorable, and I can't not like anything that he's in. So if you read the book and really didn't enjoy it, I would still definitely recommend checking out the movie because it's just a really wonderfully well done film. Next up on the list is The Lord of the Rings trilogy by by J.R.R. Tolkien versus the Peter Jackson movie adaptations. I'm not going to describe Lord of the Rings though, because let's face it, you either know that story or you don't. It's about hobbits. This is gonna sound kind of heartbreaking for some of you, and for me I'm honestly a little sad that I don't like the books more because I'm a huge fantasy fan, but in this case I liked the movies better. And it could be that I tried to read these books for the first time when I was in middle school, high school, and they were just very boring. There are a lot of moments where the characters are just trudging around in the countryside and stopping to eat and then walking and journeying some more. And in a movie, that's way easier to get through than in a book. But I will say, I just love the world that J.R.R. Tolkien has created. So these books will forever have a place in my heart. But in terms of what I want to go and rewatch/reread, I'd have to go for rewatching the movies. And I love the movies. The acting is great. The CGI is super cool. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the movies in this case. Sorry. So here's another Austen book on the list, and that is Pride and Prejudice versus the 1995 miniseries. And I would like to note that I am not comparing this against the Keira Knightley version of Pride and Prejudice because I would like to pretend that that version was never created because it is so terrible. This is by far Jane Austen's most popular novel, and hopefully most of you know what this is about. It's about a young woman named Elizabeth Bennet and her family of sisters who are all trying to find husbands, basically. The daughters of the family must marry well in order to secure a future for themselves. So I love Pride and Prejudice. I love the story. I love the wit that Jane Austen infuses into these books and the narration. It's fabulous. And I have to say that the 1995 miniseries does a fabulous job of really accurately portraying the book, which is probably why it's like 6 hours long and pretty much an exact replica of the dialogue from the book, which if you're a huge Jane Austen fan is freaking amazing. So I'm gonna have to say that this one's a tie because I really love the movie and I also really love the book. So yeah, I don't think I could pick between these two. They're both really fabulous. If you're a huge Jane Austen fan and you really like Pride and Prejudice and somehow you've not managed to see this miniseries, go out and see it like right now. Take the afternoon, like call in sick and watch it because it's so good. So taking a little break from classic literature here for a moment, next up on the list is Divergent by Veronica Roth versus the 2014 movie adaptation. So this story takes place in a future post-apocalyptic version of Chicago, where society is basically crumbled and now everyone is divided up into a faction based off of which human virtue they most portray. And it follows a young woman named Triss, who discovers that she is in fact a divergent, which is somebody who doesn't really fit into any faction. First off, I'm gonna say I really didn't love either the book or the movie. Of all the post-apocalyptic YA novels that exploded around this time, I would have to say that this one had the weakest premise in my mind. But that being said, I'm still gonna rule on which one was better, the book or the movie. In this case, I'm gonna have to say the movie. The book, I really had trouble reading it. I thought the writing style was really hard to get through, and I honestly found Triss to be a pretty unlikable character. In the movies, however, I thought that the actress who portrayed Triss made her way more palatable for me. You could really just sit back and kind of turn your brain off and enjoy the cool CGI for a plot that really isn't all that great. When I was reading the book, I got really hung up on the fact that I just really didn't think that the world made any sense at all. So yeah, the movie was way easier to kind of sit back and just enjoy. I'm probably gonna see the third movie when it comes out just because, why not? But yeah, definitely the movie in this case. Next up is a tried and true favorite, Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling versus the movie adaptation. So I'm not gonna go into what this book's about. Harry Potter, magical kid, Hogwarts, yeah, it's great. And in this case, I'm a huge fan of the books. I read these growing up. I started reading them when I was around Harry Potter's age in the first book, and then I continued to read them all the way until the end. I waited in line at midnight when the final book was released. But I have to say that I also really love the movie adaptations. They were kind of magical and miraculous to watch when they first came out. I think that those movies do such a wonderful job of just bringing J.K. Rowling's story to life. life, and all the actors, I sort of see them now as the characters in the book. So for me, I think it's pretty impossible to decide whether I like the books or the movies better in this case, because they're all just sort of part of the whole Harry Potter world. But I guess if you were to twist my arm and force me to decide, I would obviously have to say the books, because the books are fabulous. I really don't want to make a ruling in this case. I think both the book and the movies are excellent. Going back to the classics again, next up is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte versus the 2011 film adaptation. There are a number of film adaptations of this book, but I decided to go with the version which is the highest rated in my heart, because Michael Fassbender is in that version. So this book follows a young woman named Jane Eyre, and she is the unloved orphan who basically grows up unwanted by her aunt and in a really cruel boarding school. So eventually Jane leaves this horrible boarding school and goes off to be a governess at a wealthy man's house by the name of Edward Rochester. So Jane Eyre is just one of those classic stories that I absolutely love. It's right up there with Pride and Prejudice to me as one of my favorite classic literature stories of all time. So obviously this book is one of my all-time favorites, so it's pretty hard for me to not side with the book in this case. But that being said, the 2011 adaptation of this book is fabulous. Even though the movie kind of messes around with the timeline a little bit, I thought it did such a wonderful job of capturing all the gothic elements of the book. I also loved the actors that they selected to play both Jane and Rochester. I thought they did an amazing job. While the book is still the winner in this case, I absolutely love this adaptation of the book, and you should definitely check out this movie if you haven't already. So that's my list. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely let me know in the comment section down below, because there are still a few more book and movie adaptations that I'd like to review. So if you liked this and would like to see more videos like this, let me know down below, and definitely give the video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Hi, my name is Laura. I also sound angry because of like the snot. It's not doing me any favors. Okay.